pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'd like to welcome our visitors this evening and all of our live stream viewers. Agenda item number 3, we need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Number 4, public comments on the agenda items. We ask that you please come to the microphone and clearly state your first and last name so we can contact you if we have any further discussion. Please keep your comments to about 3 minutes, and please do not use individual names during comments. Just a reminder that this is a comment area, so there will not be conversation back and forth with board members. All right, I don't see any public comments. Board discussion, number 5, 5.1, the 24-25 audit report, financial statement presentation. Did I hear her name is Nancy? Okay, so Nancy is joining us by Zoom.
Good evening, everyone. Am I able to share my screen, or do you all have copies? It's saying that it's been disabled.
She's working on it.
Okay. Well, maybe then before we get to the presentation, I'll just give a little update. So the OMB, the federal governing agency for all of the federal funding and the single audit that we complete, is not out for fiscal 2025. So we have a draft that the OMB has issued, and we completed our audit based on that. So right now, we're waiting for that final document to issue final reports. So hopefully we'll get that before the December 31st deadline with the state of Minnesota. And if not, we'll have to come up with an alternate plan. So that's why the documents that you received have preliminary watermark across them, because they are preliminary at this point.
And you should be able to share your screen.
Perfect. All right, are you seeing the PowerPoint presentation with ISD 182 on the front?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, then to get started, I'm going to talk about the communications that we issue as part of the audit. So the first one is going to be that independent auditor's report. And this report is found in the front of the financial statement. So if you do wish to read it in its entirety, you can find it there. It's about 3 pages long. But in summary, the most important paragraph is going to be the second one, and that is our opinion. And we're issuing an unmodified opinion again this year, which is the best that we as your auditors can offer. It is an indication that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects based on the results of our audit. So that is a clean opinion, is another terminology that we use. And then in addition to that, we have our report related to government auditing standards. So these standards are required by statute in the state of Minnesota for all school districts. And they require us as auditors to look at your internal control, gain an understanding. We don't give an opinion on internal control, but we do understand it enough to plan and perform our audit. And based on our understanding, we have one internal control finding, and that is the lack of segregation of accounting duties. That's not new for your district and not at all uncommon for a district of your size. You have a small finance department or business office that takes care of all of the day-to-day operations. And then as far as compliance related to those standards, we did not note any non-compliance. And then we have the uniform guidance. So this is what I mentioned earlier. We don't have final documents at this point. So based on the work that we've completed, we anticipate an unmodified opinion on compliance and no internal control findings related to that. And then our last official letter is going to be our report on Minnesota legal compliance. And this covers 7 broad categories of legal compliance as outlined by the Office of the State Auditor. And based on our work there, we did not note any non-compliance with any of those statutes that we tested. So all of those letters are in that financial statement document. And then we issue a second document, the communications letter. And in there, we have 4 sections. So the first one is the required communication. And these are all the things that our audit standards say that we need to put in writing to all of you as the governing body for the school district. And it would be our tool if we had anything significant that we uncovered, if we had any disagreements or difficulties encountered, happy to report that nothing in that section strays from our standard language. So clean bill of health, if you will, on all of that. Then we have financial analysis, which I will cover this evening. And then in the back, there's some light reading. We have a legislative update from the last session, and then also some new Government Accounting Standard Board standards that will be implemented over the next couple of years. So a lot going on with the GASB as always. Moving on then to the financial information. Starting with that formula allowance. So general education, still your largest funding source for the school district. So we give you some perspective on where that formula allowance has been over the past 10 years and where it will be for fiscal 2026 that you're operating in right now. So if you look at 2025, the year that we're discussing this evening, you see that you received a 2% increase, down from the 4% that you received in 2024, and then anticipating 2.7 for 2026. And the other component of the calculation of general education aid is going to be your student count. So we do have several charts and graphs to take a look at those items. First of all, starting with your residents. So we have a chart here that shows you a 5-year history, and you can see that there's been an overall decrease. If we look at 2024 versus 2025, it's down about 20 students. And we have that same information in a graphical format, and I think this more clearly identifies that overall decline. So if you look back to 2021, there was a little bit of a blip up in 2022, but you're down about 59 residents. So that's the population that is available for your district to serve, not necessarily those students that are attending in your buildings. So the next charts take a look at your average daily membership in pupil units served. So these are weighted. So you take the students and weight them, and then also factor in the effects of open enrollment. So the top chart there is going to show you those weighting factors. The secondary kiddos receiving 1.2, so a little bit more on the formula with those. And then the second chart shows you the activity related to open enrollment and the overall trend for the last 5 years. So if we look at that, you did have a few less students going elsewhere and an overall decline in that number for the last couple of years. So that's good news. And you had about 2.5 more students coming into the district than you had in 2024. So overall, a decline of about 16 students or 1.5%. So it's a little bit less than the resident decline. And this chart just gives you those changes in a percentage format. So you can see most of those being under the 0. So decreases in both residents and those pupil units served overall for the last 5 years. Again, you had that little bit of a blip up in 2022, but decreases since then. All right, then moving into the general fund activity, starting with a budget to actual statements at a really high level here. You can see that on the left, your original budget anticipated a decrease in fund balance of about $542,000. Modified that a little bit. There were larger changes in revenues and expenditures, but bottom line did not change significantly. And then the third column from the left is going to be the actual amount. So this is the activity for the district general fund for the year. And you can see that you did outperform your budget and fund balance increased by about $270,000. If we look to the far right, that's going to be the variance column. And if we follow that back up to your total revenues, you can see that revenues were under budget, about $463,000. That's 2.6%. So when you're looking at a percentage, it's pretty small. The largest variance is going to be in that state source category, and that had to do with special education coming in less overall than what was anticipated in that budget. On the expenditure side of things, those were also under budget. That's about 7.6% and comes in 3 primary categories. So your regular instruction and your special education instruction, some conservative budgeting there for supplies and those types of things, and then also some unfilled positions in that special education para category. The largest variance comes in your sites and buildings, and that is under budget related to project timelines just not moving quite as planned in the budget. It's always tough to know where those are going to come out during the year. So a positive variance overall there. Digging into the details just a little bit more, we have a chart that takes a look at your general fund sources of revenue, and you can see a drop in 2025. So down about 8.6% or 1.5 million, and that's sizable. If we look at the categories, the blue in the middle is your state sources, and that does make up 75% of the total. So still heavily reliant on what's going on at the state of Minnesota. And that number did decrease about 384,000, and that is again related to the special education coming in lower. The other category that saw a sizable change is going to be in the top, the brown portion of the chart there. That is other revenues. That includes local sources and then also federal. So the big change there, down 1.2 million related to the ESSER funds. So the end of all of the COVID funding happened and that number decreased substantially. On the expenditure side of things, overall expenditures were down, but by about 1.4%, so not very significant. And when we look at your spending categories, they're very consistent year to year. Your instructional categories, regular, special education, and vocational instruction make up about 62% of the total budget in 2025. So you are spending a majority of your funds directly on students. And the only sizable change we see here, and it's not even that big, it's 4%, is in that sites and buildings and other category, was 17% last year down to 13% this year. And that's really driving the overall decrease in your expenditures as well. The next charts and graphs take a look at your revenues and expenditures per student, and then we have some comparative information to the statewide average. So if we look at 2025 versus 2024, you'll see a decrease there, and that is the decrease in your revenues did outpace the decrease in your students served. And if we look at 2024 and prior, you can see that you have historically been below state average, but pretty close. 2024 was a little bit under, and then 23 back to 2021, pretty close to state averages and just a bit under. And we have that same information in graphical format, and you can see the big drop that it took in 2025 compared to 2024. And then similar information for your expenditures per student. And you can see that the drop here for 2025 isn't as significant, and that's because your expenditures did not drop as much as your revenues. And then when we look to 2024 and years prior, we have average size districts similar to Crosby-Ironton, and then also the statewide average. And you can see that you are above on the expenditure side of things to where the state is for most of those years. All right, then we roll the general fund all together, give you a snapshot of year end and high level activity. Looking at total revenues, total expenditures, we talked about those already, and then that increase in fund balance of 270,000. The bottom portion of this chart is going to give you your total fund balance at 7.3 million, and we subtract off the restrictions. Those are all the state mandated reserves, so things like operating capital, long-term facility maintenance, some literacy funds. There's just several categories in there, and that number did increase about 685,000 for the year. So that's where the overall increase is residing. Then you have assigned amounts that stayed the same. Those are things like curriculum, technology, retirement funds, building maintenance and repairs. There's some amounts set aside for those things specifically. And then that leaves you with the unassigned and non-spendable, which is what's available for next year's budget at just under 1.8 million, which is about 11% or just under 1.5 months of expenditures based on 2025 spending levels. The next chart takes a look at your fund balance percentage in a little bit different way. So this one's going to include the unassigned and non-spendable and then also those assigned funds. And the state calculates this number for us, and that gives us the ability to compare Crosby-Ironton to other districts across the state. So you can see that was virtually flat from last year to this year, and you've been pretty close to the state average. And that state average has hovered right around that 20 to 24% for very many years. So I would anticipate you being close again for 2025. All right, one last chart that takes a look at the financial position of the general fund. And I think the good thing to take away from this fund is the overall upward trend with both your cash and investments and your total fund balance. And they kind of mirror each other, which isn't what we saw if you looked prior to 2016. So I think this is just a positive look at the operations of the district for the last 10 years. All right, 2 more charts taking a look at your special revenue funds, starting with food service. You did have a decrease in your revenues, fewer meals served for the year, and then just pretty consistent expenditures, down just a little bit. So overall, expenditures did exceed your revenues by $26,000, but you ended with a very healthy $261,000 fund balance in this fund. And then the last fund is going to be your community service fund. Both revenues and expenditures down in this fund with decreased programming, but you were still able to produce excess revenues. So your fund balance increased to just over $375,000. And this fund does have several categories that the state segregates the fund balances into, and all of those are positive at June 30th. So this fund does appear to be operating appropriately and covering costs of each of the programs overall. And that is everything. Does anyone have questions or anything that you'd like to talk about further?
Any questions for Nancy? It doesn't look like we have any questions for you, Nancy.
Okay, well then I will let you to the rest of your meeting, and thank you for your time tonight. And before I go, I want to thank Bill and the staff, Bill, Leah, the team, for being very well prepared for us when we came in to do the audit. We don't have a lot of schools that actually present in October, so it's a refreshing experience for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to 5.2, Student Representative Report, Bailey and Wyatt.
Awesome. All right. Oh. It is on. Oh. Whoopsies. All right. The first thing I'm going to talk about is homecoming week. I know it feels so long ago, but I haven't been here in a minute, so we won against Hinckley. So exciting. We won by pretty good numbers, so that was exciting. Super fun game. Lots of cheering. I had no voice the next day, but it's okay. Dress-up days were super fun. As you can see, we have a picture of me and some of my friends during Hawaiian Day. So fun. It was so fun to dress up during all of the days. The dance turnout was actually really good. We've had some low dance turnouts in the past couple of years, so it was really exciting to see a bunch of students coming together in that school spirit. You can see some pictures from that, and then you can also see our homecoming court and the student section at the game. You could just see so many people, so that was so exciting. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that.
And then we had a couple events for NHS. Including our highway cleanup. We do 3 of those each year, and we got to do our first one out on Highway 6. And then we also did one of 2 or 3 blood drives we do this year as well, and both were very good. And then for sports, volleyball won their section game against Two Harbors. On Saturday, the football, we lost our semifinal round to Aiken. The cross-country girls and Peter Bartles are going to state, and Tori is also going to state for tennis. And then the Unified Special Olympics team took first in the Unified Flag Football and Pillager on October 1st.
All right. We had a college fair, I think it was last month. That was open to all juniors and seniors. We all went to CLC, and there was so many colleges. I was like surprised at the amount of colleges that were fit in that tiny little gym. But yeah, it was nice to get out and see. I know I went last year, and I went this year too. But last year it was, as a junior, it was a little more helpful than this year. But that was nice. And then there was a field trip for Larson's junior and senior class where they went to the Minneapolis Institution of Art. I have some pictures. I was not there, but I got some pictures from people that did go. So yeah, there was a really wide range of art exhibits, a bunch of different cultures and a bunch of different types of art. So that was nice to see pictures afterwards, and I've heard it was fun. And then the students enjoyed Raising Cane's afterwards. I've heard the most fun about the Raising Cane's, but I'm sure the art was cool too. But yeah, that was so much fun. There's also some theater productions. Some of our students from Crosby are rehearsing as of the past few weeks. We have Rudolph at CLC, where we have, I think, 3 or 4 students from here. And then the Nutcracker at the Brainerd Performing Arts Center, which I think we have 2 or 3 also there. And their performances are in January. I don't have exact dates yet, but hopefully next month I'll have exact dates. So fun to come watch. And then we have our upcoming events. So we have We Scare Hunger October 30th. The NHS Leadership Forum, November 2nd and 3rd. Holiday Hero Cards are November 11th, as well as our Veterans Day program. The Environmental Club Plant Sale is at the brewery November 15th, and then winter sports are starting up, so that's exciting. And Writing Club is starting up also. I think this is our first year of doing that, and that's on Mondays. And then my final thoughts, this quarter has just been packed full of fun activities. It's been so amazing, and I'm excited for the next 3 quarters. So much fun things coming up.
Yeah, there's been a lot of great things, and hopefully more to come.
All right.
Guys.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a good report. No? Okay, I'll just set it there. All right, 5.3, operating referendum election, November 4th, 2025. Mr. Ollie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, 1 week from tomorrow morning, the voters of the Crosby-Ironton School District can go to the polls and they can choose 2 paths for the CS School District. We've been communicating the information in a wide variety of ways, through social media, through mailings, doing everything we can to get it out there. I do want to highlight briefly, if Carmen, if you could bring up my screen, for those that are still looking for information, those that might be watching live, Ranger Nation strongfoundation.org is the one-stop shop for all things Crosby-Ironton operating levy referendum. There are tabs that list the challenges, talks about the plan, talks about the cost, the tax impact on the market value of the homes. There's also a tax impact calculator. There's opportunities to look into tax relief opportunities, several resources, Ranger Nation strongfoundation.org, various videos we've put out. And then the last thing I'm going to highlight, Madam Chair, is the voting information. If folks have not made a plan to vote yet, they should do so. You can vote in person. There are only 4 locations for the special election. Crosby City Hall, if you're a resident of City of Crosby, Cuyuna, Irondale Township, the City of Riverton, the City of Ironton, Oaklawn Township, Rabbit Lake Township, the City of Trumbull, or Wolford Township. You vote at Deerwood Town Hall if you're a resident of Bay Lake Township, the City of Deerwood Township, Noki Lake, or Farm Island Township. You vote at Emily City Hall if you're a resident of the City of Cross Lake, the City of Emily, Fairfield Township, Little Pine Township, Perry Lake Township, or Ross Lake Township. And the final polling location is Mission Town Hall if you're a resident of Center Township, Lake Edward Township, Mission Township, or Pelican Township. We hope everyone's making a plan to have their voice heard a week from tomorrow.
And you can still go to Brainerd.
Early voting will go through November 3rd, and you can walk right into the Crow Wing County Courthouse from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. You can show them your ID, and it takes about 6 minutes to vote in person. So if you want to beat the polls and vote early, you can do that as well. So at this point, that's all I have, Madam Chair, unless there are questions from the board.
Any questions? All right, we'll move on. 5.4, policy review. We've got policy 808, health and safety policy, first reading of revision. Policy 901, community education. This is also the first reading of revision. And policy 902, use of school district facilities and equipment, first reading of revision. Any questions, comments about that? Any of them? The only thing I wanted to bring to the attention is on policy 902, and it might have been caught by now, on page 6 of the document. it still lists as Ranger Gym instead of Galovich. So I just want to make sure that that gets updated, please. So that will come to our next board meeting to vote on next month, so. All right. Number 6, we need to approve the minutes of the September 22nd, 2025 regular board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing nothing, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Agenda item number 7, these items are included in your packet. We will start with the 7.1 administrative reports. Any questions, comments on A through D? Okay, we'll move on and we'll go to 7.1E, Superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Several items just to briefly go over. I wasn't sure if the students were going to highlight their visit with Congressman Staubauer today. Do you want to talk about that, or do you want me to? I can do that, okay. They've been hearing from me all night, so I thought I would give you the phone, or the mic here. But, so CI Schools, I had, as part of my transition plan, I'd written notes and letters to all of our local representatives. And Congressman Staubauer had reached out and asked to come visit Crosby-Ironton schools, and we had a really good visit with him today. Our student representatives were a part of that. We had our two principals, Mr. Tolleson, Madam Chair, and myself, and Congressman Staubauer took some questions from the students. They did a really outstanding job of asking questions and representing CI in such a positive way. He commented, I know, to Mr. Tolleson on the way out about how impressed he was with the students and their thoughtful questions. Wyatt talked a little bit about his experience testifying last spring down at the Capitol for the season rec bill, so it was a nice visit, and then he was able to take a tour of the school facilities. So it's great to build relationships with our local legislators and make sure they understand the needs and desires of the Crosby-Ironton students and of the district. So it's a good visit, and we thank him and his staff for helping organize that. We talked about the cross-country team, congratulations, and all the wonderful fall activities. We hosted business after hours. That was a good success last Tuesday. Thanks to all the businesses, and thank you to the Chamber for sponsoring that and helping us organize that. Ms. Ottersted's culinary students provided the food for the evening. Mr. Schaffbach provided tours of the welding facility, and everyone that was here was very proud of the facilities and the work that's being done down there. So hoping to maybe host another one here later on in the winter or the spring. Reminder to families, we have an early dismissal, October 29th. Crest is dismissed at 1 p.m. The high school is dismissed at 1:05. Board members later this week should get individual calendar invites from me to set up individual board meetings, just to touch base and visit with each of you individually as we continue to transition in here. And then just wanted to report that I've been meeting with all the directors and the principals to go over their goals for the year and look at their evaluations and ways to support them and the work that they're doing in their various departments. A lot of staff working really hard, and it's good to provide them with feedback and support as they go about their businesses as well. So a couple upcoming events, November 2nd, 3 p.m. right here in the forum room. We are hosting a question and answer, kind of town hall style, regarding the upcoming referendum. We're hoping to get community members here. We're also doing a tour led by students following the informational session. So if there's folks out in the public that want to attend and learn more, we're going to be in here at 3 o'clock on November 2nd. That's Sunday. We have a meeting with Graphics Packaging on Monday, November 3rd. Their new plant manager, as well as their human resource director, is going to be meeting with Mr. Fisher and myself to talk about partnerships and the tour of the facility and just learn more about ways we can work with their business. Parent-teacher conferences, November 3rd and November 6th. There won't be any school for students on November 7th in exchange for those days. November 10th, we have a canvas of election results at 8:30 a.m. and November 10th, we have a work session at 5 p.m. And then a Veterans Day program November 11th. So lots of good information coming up that will be in my board notes as well this Friday, so.
What is your evaluation, the timeline? Like you said, you wanted to talk about supporting them. Like, do you start that this fall still, or is that still something that goes after? Yeah.
So I sit down with each director and principal, and the first thing we do is we talk about what evaluations have looked like in the past, how they feel about evaluations, just to get a feel for just past practice. We talk about their various duties and roles in each of their departments, and then we look at goals that they have, and then we go over the evaluation instrument and talk about the expectations are, and
Okay.
and we do a mid-year check-in in January, and then we
Okay.
go through the goals and we touch base on where they're at, and then we do a summative evaluation conference in the spring.
Okay.
Perfect. Good question.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions on that one? All right. We'll move to 7.2, the committee reports, and this is kind of new for all of us, so we'll just kind of go in line so we're not backtracking. Staff development, in that we had a lot of discussion this month on professional development, and they just have a lot of things they want to kind of work out, so we're working a lot on professional development with them at this time, so. Anything with Clef?
Yeah, I would say the biggest change is that our president, Clark Marshall, is stepping down as the long-term board president, and we had a little celebration to recognize his many years of service, which was absolutely lovely. And his position is being taken over by Mike Dahman, who we all know and will be supporting us and with most excellence. Let's see, what should I tell you? A lot of things happened. I think my favorite part of this entire piece is that I get to be part of, as I said last time, part of an organization that gives money out willingly, generously, freely to projects, and a number of projects were approved. Grant approvals were given to 5 different programs, as well as additional funds set aside in reserve with the anticipation of more grants coming down the pipeline for the next month. So just being part of that is good, and being, on the receiving end of that and seeing that all come into play is so fun as a board, so.
Perfect, thank you. The Community Ed Advisory Council, Ms. Neprud?
Yeah, we had, at the last meeting, we had the president of the MCA come to meet with us and work on strategic planning for community ed and setting up goals and that. And there were probably 7 community members and Mr. Ollie and myself there. It was good. It really was good. It'd be a good start to give a formation of goals and direction for the director to move forward with, and to set up different parameters of things that we'll be working on at the next meeting. So, it's kind of when you change and you reorganize your department and everything else, it's not as fast as some people want, but I have faith that it's going to be good.
And then, just to clarify, you guys meet every other month, or what is the meeting?
I think they're meeting in November.
The next meeting's November 5th.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know there was a schedule that you guys were kind of looking at, and I couldn't remember if it
believe
was
it's every
quarterly or every
I
other.
think it's every other month right now.
Okay,
While we're organizing, so.
okay, perfect. Infinity,
We have not met.
okay, yeah, I think that's January, yep. And I think Cuyuna Rec got rescheduled, or it's getting rescheduled.
Yeah, we were supposed to meet last week, but there were some people that weren't gonna be able to be there. We're still doing that tour of the ATV trail that they're looking to hopefully get some support on, so
Okay,
hopefully
perfect.
here next month, we'll meet and do that, so I'll
Okay,
report back as soon as we meet again.
sure. And then, I don't know, did Paul Bunyan meet yet?
No, not until November 7th.
November, okay, perfect, all right. 7.3, enrollment report, Mr. Tollefson.
Madam Chair, members of the board, the enrollment report is included in your packet. We, through the first Friday of October, we had some slight decline, down one student at the elementary and one student at the high school. That dropped the district total by 2 students, and when the weighting for pupil units happens, dropped it from 1,015 to 1,012 pupil units. If you go to the far right to the average, that's what the actual final enrollment at the end of the day will be based on, the funding. And you see that we went from 1,015 last month to 1,014 in the average pupil units for this month. And the average overall enrollment is 924 students. I think, as I pointed out in September, the enrollment for the preschool program has been added to this report and is included at the bottom. Just a note, so there's no confusion. There were updated numbers in the Community Ed Director report that are slightly different than this because hers were 2 weeks farther out than what these numbers were. These numbers were from October 3rd. So point in time you need to look at to make sure you're in the right vintage of data. You can see that the budget was based on 1,006 pupil units. We're averaging right now 1,014 and declining a little bit. That decline typically trends downward pretty substantially historically after the first of the year. And so still in reasonably good shape, up 8 over projection. 8 at about $7,000 is $56,000 in additional revenue if the enrollment holds for the year. I'd entertain any questions.
Do you have a preliminary on the 2 that left in first and the 1 in 8th?
I do not.
Okay. Is that something, the principals?
Are you mean the exit? Mm-hmm. Yep, we did the surveys, I can get that.
In
I
the
don't-
board
I don't-
notes?
Yep, I
Okay.
don't have it with me, but I'll put it in my notes.
Okay, thank you.
They are conducting withdrawal interviews as best they can. We send the link out.
I know you
It's
can't
up to-
force
yeah,
anybody, but I know that we've tried to
up-
collect that, so.
It's up to the families, but we are with each one. We'll
Okay.
send that out.
All
And
right.
hopefully we don't have too many to send out this year, so.
All right. Agenda item number 8, consent calendar. I need a motion for 8.1 to 8.3.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just want to say thank you to all the donors that gave again, so. I think this month was over
It was $20,707.
$1,000, that's crazy. At the bottom now. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to comment too about, I don't know if we've just never included it, but I've never seen it on there with the in-kind, Crosby-Ironton transportation. So I think that's really nice that if they've done that before, but recognizing them, I think is really nice. So thank you for including that.
Yep.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Number 9, personal consent items, 9.1 to 9.5. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I didn't see any major changes. Have you noticed any?
No, I think the only change was obviously the head boys basketball coach. I think was the only thing I really noticed on that one. And I enjoy seeing that we have a lot of volunteer coaches that are willing to step up and help our sports out. So,
Madam Chair.
yes.
One additional item that will change that was not on the agenda is that we will have some transition going on in the robotics advisor position. We were not ready to move on that, and so that will be coming up a little bit out of sequence, hopefully at the November meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Action items 10.1, approve the following policy. Second reading and adoption of policy 806, crisis management policy. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 10.2, approve the following 2025 to 26 seniority lists. Education Minnesota Crosby-Ironton and American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 10.3, approve the 2024-2025 audit report and financial statements. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion on that?
I just want to say thank you to Bill for all your hard work. Much appreciated.
It's always nice to hear our auditors say that they enjoy working with our school districts, so. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 10.4, authorize superintendent to sign the consortium agreement, cross-district high school course access. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
I would just like to clarify that, again, this is an opportunity for us to enter a conversation and have a seat at the table, more than implementing a plan.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep, so this is just beginning stages of this whole process.
Yes, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 10.5, approve overnight trip for dance team on January 9th and 10th, 2026, to attend the Best of the Best College and High School Dance Team Show in Minneapolis on January 9th and competing in St. Cloud on January 10th, 2026. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 10.6, approve overnight trip for dance team on January 16th and 17th, 2026, to attend the HOL Conference Championship Meet in Pelican Rapids on January 16th, and to compete in the Yellow Medicine East Invitational on January 17th, 2026. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I would, go ahead. No, you go ahead. You go.
I just want to clarify that these overnight trips for dance line are at the expense of the dance line, not the school district, correct?
Yes. and
Yeah, I believe what it was attached in our minute, or in our board packet, was their laid out plans. So, yep, it does look like it's all gonna be fundraised.
To the-
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say too, is just clarification to the public, because I know all you have is a piece of paper. Is that if you go to the board, what is it called? Board book? It does have the attachment, and it says exactly, where they're going, the purpose, departure date, return time, transportation, and the cost, and like how they're paying for it. So just for the public to know that, it is laid out, but it's just a formality that we have to approve it as a school board.
Perfect.
Great minds think alike.
I know.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 10.7, approve the Spanish Club trip to Peru in June of 2027. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 10.8, set a special board meeting to canvass the results of the November 4th, 2025 election for Monday, November 10th, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. in the district office conference room. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Can I ask why we're not canvassing them prior to the workshop that evening, so we don't have to come in twice? Or why we're not doing it earlier after the,
Next morning, you mean?
like the next morning, the day after, or 2 days after? Just a question.
Mr. Tollefson.
We need some time for the county election office to
Finish count.
go through and finish their work. And so they've asked us to target at least November 10th or later, yeah.
But we could do it prior to the workshop instead of coming twice. I would prefer that.
Okay, and that, we can have that discussion and,
The meeting takes 5 minutes.
correct,
And not everybody has to be here. We have to have a quorum,
to have a quorum.
yeah.
So I guess it's up to,
I will be.
Well, if everybody wants to come and is going to be here, then we'll just keep it the way it is. But it was just,
I will be sliding in, maybe at 8:30. It'll be closer to 8:45.
So we might just miss.
Be done by
I
then.
will not be here.
Just say that, which is fine. I think that's, Tommy, did you care?
Me too.
I'm here with kids anyways, so.
Yeah, I can be here.
Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay,
Yep. I
all
can
right.
be here.
okay,
So,
You bring coffee.
leave it.
okay. All right.
Hey, Lauren.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 10.9, set special board meeting for Thursday, November 20th, 2025 at 6:30 PM to meet with MSBA regarding superintendent transition and superintendent evaluation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? So just a reminder, this is, was a setup thing when we did our process of hiring a superintendent with MSBA. So this is just part of that whole package. So, all right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Number 11, public comments. Again, same thing. Please come to the microphone. State your first and last name. In case we need to contact you, please keep your comments to about 3 minutes. And please do not use individual names during comments. Just a reminder, this is comment area, and there will be no conversation back and forth with board members. Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Eric Anderson. I'm the pastor of Life Spring Church in town. I live in Deerwood Township. And just wanted to share some thoughts, maybe cast a challenge as you come to the upcoming referendum. I've talked to some of you about what I'm going to share, and just kind of wanted to share with the board. I've chosen to homeschool or home educate our 9 children. At the same time, I wish and desire and will help the best I can to see that Crosby-Ironton has a very successful public school. And to this end, I wish the referendum the best, if that makes sense, because I believe these produce good patriots, neighbors, workers, and leaders to this end. I know that is what you desire and are striving for as well. I trust the teaching staff is working hard towards this as well. I am very supportive of public schools while simultaneously being very against government schools, and there's a massive distinction. Sadly, the situation we find ourselves in regard to government control is far different than the great Americana public school system I grew up in and graduated in southern Minnesota from. Our government forcing the values of Minneapolis, St. Paul, or Hollywood, or wherever you want to call it, through their requirements and godless ideologies has made education far more complicated than it was a generation ago. It's made your job much harder as well. I'm obviously preaching to the choir here, you know that. But like it or not, Crosby-Ironton, I think, must do what you can, particularly in the coming days, to distance yourself from the control of the state government and what they're pushing down upon you. No doubt you are already doing this, but my charge to you is to let the community know where you stand in relation to St. Paul. I believe that this community is desirous, I can't speak for everybody, but at least I believe this community is desirous to see a school that is not Brainerd, nor is Minneapolis St. Paul, but also wants the reassurance of this through your bold, courageous leadership. Honestly, I don't think it would take much, but what I believe for this upcoming referendum would be very important, or in the future, is to share a vision for the CI school. What is the Ranger way, and how is that different from what is being forced upon us? We know it's there to educate kids, but I believe it also should include what it's not. And I would encourage you to consider 3 commitments that you could make to the community and the community at large. I believe the public want to hear from you that 3 things, and here's what I stated to some of you. We are an independent school district, not a government school. We're here to educate our students to a higher standard, which is the Ranger way, not a lower standard based on the felt needs of every student, nor to become a voice box for the state education board nor the teachers union if it goes against the values of Crosby-Ironton. Number two, we hold that a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl. While we're going to have students that are going to be confused on different matters, we do not promote any LGBT plus curriculum, nor do we allow students to choose a bathroom based upon their desires. Now, I realize that's probably already happening. I mean, as far as you're already holding that stand, but I think it would be good to publicly reassure the community of that. That comes up a lot. Why is that? Because our community wants to know that we commit safe spaces for girls and boys to thrive and not to be afraid. I realize these are moral issues. They're not ones that you created, but they're ones that are being pressed upon us, and it's in our culture today and even in mandates in our state government. Number three, we do not teach CRT or Marxist views of culture and individuals. We're an American school. For example, if charges of racism were ever to arise, we commit to handling them on a case-by-case basis through a fair process. We are here to teach students to succeed as good students and good citizens, and we expect parents to parent their kids and promote values and virtues. 30 more seconds. Finally, for your encouragement, I realize that such statements are not easy. I've often heard it, as I've talked to some of you and talked to people before, to say that we can't say these things because our state will take away our funding, and I get that concern. I mean, the state, they take from us and they give back under certain terms. And that might be a true and fair point, but I know this community would rally around a school board who would stand up for the values of our community. During 2020, I'm going to give you an example. Our church, LifeSpring Church, small church, joined a federal lawsuit with two other small churches against the Walls-Ellison illegal mandates to shut down churches and mask up. This put us in the crosshairs of the state, particularly the Attorney General's office. We stood strong when the Star Tribune tried to frame us as threats to freedom or whatever else they wanted to call us. And you know what? The administration actually backed down and their lawsuit was dismissed because they realized they were not in the right, we were in the right, and they weren't going to win in court. During this time, and I want to say this, as publicly what we were doing became public, we received nothing but overwhelming support and approval from this community for taking a stand against what they were doing. I believe the community desires to support you as well. Thank you for listening to this, and I wish you the best.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Noah Gedker. I am a resident here in Crosby with my wife and two little children that are way too little to be in school yet, but they will be educated eventually, get to that age. But I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. And I believe that many in our community are deeply care about our schools, no matter what side of the issue that they take. But many also believe in a historic Christian values education, where character, morality, and meaning come from God's truth, grounded in Scripture, from the family, and from their local church. And I apologize, I might be losing my voice before Bailey does. So, what we're seeing in many public school systems is a different model, a secular psychology-based approach called SEL, social emotional learning. It says, look within yourself to find peace, success, build your identity, manage your emotions, decide your own values. In contrast, the Christian tradition teaches, deny yourself, take up your cross, live by the Spirit of Christ. One is man-centered, the other is God-centered. SEL also increasingly shifts from personal skill building into a full-blown program of moral value formation. Gender identity, race, oppression, frameworks, activism, and resistance as virtues. These are ideological commitments, not just emotional skills. In Minnesota's own SEL materials, students are encouraged to define their personal values, analyze how social norms influence their behavior, and actively engage with group identity and social systems. The issue becomes if our schools adopt these models with clear parental consent or without clear parental consent, or options for families of faith, then the state becomes the moral educator, rather than the family or the church. So that undermines the scripture's vision of parents teaching their children at home and the constitutional principle of religious liberty that I believe many in this community do hold to and believe in. So therefore, I do ask that this district would adopt a public statement, as I have talked to many who have stated that, well, Crosby is different. We don't have that in our district. That may or may not, I'm not sure. I'm not in the classroom each day. But I would say if that truly isn't happening here, then we shouldn't have any issue with making a public statement affirming that moral and worldview teaching will remain the responsibility of families and not the school district. So will we ensure that our classrooms prioritize reading, writing, math, science, the core, what we really need to be teaching? Or, and beyond that, especially in SEL or values education, is transparently optional, parent-driven, and aligning with the community's convictions. Clearly, we've seen the last 2 years that the majority have voted down the referendum, and I believe that much of what I've just said has to do with that, not just a financial concern. I believe that Crosby-Ironton School District in this community has a chance to say that we are different than other school districts. We respect parental authority. We respect the Christian values that are so core to this community. Not that we prioritize one religion over the other, but we do recognize that we are inherently a Christian nation. And we focus on, as a school district, we want to be known that we focus on the academic core, not on the peripheral items. And we place the formation of worldview where it belongs, in the family and in our churches. So this, I believe, could truly be a game changer if we want to win over the lost confidence of the majority, or excuse me, a major segment of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, so I just want to talk to the board here. We have been meeting every week for the referendum updates with RAP strategies. And it has been discussed that as a board, we need to possibly look at getting us out there as a group. We know that we've all agreed to do another referendum and be on board with that, but we're looking at doing our group picture from January, using that as on our Facebook page to remind our voters to go vote on November 4th. So I just want to make sure that our group is okay with doing that on our Facebook page.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah, well, and the marketing team wrote the page, but it's just about having heard and just, I suggested it, that we just need to have a strong, solid voice.
Unified presence.
Yep.
And I just wanted to make sure, I didn't want to speak for everybody, so that is why we're bringing it up tonight. So, all right, I will reach out to Julia and let her know that everyone's okay with that. All right, thank you, guys. Next regular board meeting is November 24th, 2025, here in the forum room. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.